Now, when they tell you that Kingsley Coman is 28 years of age, it's very hard for you to believe it. And because he's been here for some long time, and he started football when he was really young, but he has lived his dreams, and I've gonna hate to see him really win lots of things for the team of France. I think he's a World Cup winner, if I'm not mistaken, in 20. When you look at Euro 2020 World Cup, he played that of 2022, and that means he missed out of 2018. But all in all, he's really a very, 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 very good player. And I tell you what, he has put out lots of performances in there for you that I've gonna hate, obviously make him one of those players that the world is really wanting to see what his next step is. But guess what? Arsenal are currently the most concrete option for this guy, and that is gonna hit to come in through from a source known as Platigol, and that is a credible source coming in through from the side of Germany. Lionel Messi, new contract loading at what we call Inter Miami in the USA, and those are the two stories obviously gonna be tackling in here. Continue to subscribe. We want to hit 26,000 subscribers onto this beautiful YouTube channel of ours, and before the summer transfer window opens, let's already have 30,000 subscribers onto this channel, and the rest will be history in here. So Rokani David is my name, and let's obviously get to where it all deserves to be. Now, let's call Kingsley Coman. Story reported by Sky Germany, and the person in particular, or the journalist in particular, is Platigol, credible journalist, tier 1 journalist from Germany. Kingsley Coman has already internally expressed his desire to leave this summer. Saudi clubs are now taking the matter seriously and are planning a visit to Munich for talks with Bayern Munich. In England, Arsenal are currently the most concrete option. And why is Arsenal the most concrete option? Especially since Leroy Sané is about to extend his contract with Bayern. Spurs would like to sign Coman, but are currently in waiting position. That's what you've gonna hit to get in through. They are kindly in a waiting position because of his salary. Now, there are two names named in this transfer, and there are two teams named in this transfer of Kingsley Coman, meaning that there are two factors that are really gonna determine whether Kingsley Coman is coming to Arsenal or not. The first factor is a Leroy Sané factor. 1. That means if Leroy Sané doesn't renew his contract with the side of Bayern Munich, it will mean that this guy will have to move to go to the side of Arsenal, that is Leroy Sané, and maybe Kingsley Coman might find himself obviously going to play away, maybe in Saudi Arabia or at Tottenham Hotspur or any other club. But if Leroy Sané puts pen to paper on the contract that Bayern Munich is proposing to him, then Kingsley Coman will find himself as an option of Arsenal signing him. Now, the other factor is all about Tottenham Hotspur, and Spurs are like, they are interested into the player, but his salary. And let's check and see what is his salary as Kingsley Coman, a player that the world has seen, and he has obviously gone ahead to obviously shine at Bayern Munich. Now, he earns 17 million euros. You understand? Now, let's go to his weekly wage. His weekly wage is 326,923 euros. So guys, that is really a huge amount of money, and I think Spurs cannot afford it. And the big question is, can Arsenal afford it? That is the big question. Can Arsenal afford it? Because if you're bringing a player of this caliber, you all know to it that he's really, really, really good. And these are the kind of players that Arsenal need. Players that have done it somewhere, and they've gone ahead obviously bringing the experience. And in pounds, it's all about 283,932 pounds. That's what it reads here onto the forex exchange. You understand? So it shows you that the player would go to a side that is willing to offer him that amount of money, which is almost £290,000 a week. And I think for Arsenal, getting in Kingsley Coman at peanuts, at that amount of money, obviously helps them really put in a very beautiful shift in there for you. And that's really one of the sure deals that Arsenal might obviously get. Know that they're getting in a player who has experience. He has won the Champions League. I think he has been part of the Bayern winning team on several occasions. And that is the experience that maybe Andre Batha is really looking at. And by the way, I've gonna hate to see all the targets of Andre Batha. He's looking at those players that have done it somewhere else and are really proven. And that's why maybe Nico Williams might be really out of the equation, because if Arsenal is looking at Leroy Sen and Coleman, Kingsley, then it sends a message to you that they are going in for experience. Players that have gone ahead obviously come and really win the trophies like the leagues, like the Bundesliga, Premier League, Champions League, and so on and so forth. So, for Arsenal, they might be going in for experience. But I tell you, the story of Nico Williams will obviously not die a natural death, and it will obviously keep in the news. And I know very soon a story linking him to Arsenal is obviously going to be dropped. But I tell you what, if Arsenal is willing to pay the player called Nico Williams £300,000 a week, because that's his request, that for any team that wants to obviously sign him, they have to really be able to put in that amount of money. You understand? So it sends a message to you that the difference in between the salary of Nico Williams and Kingsley Coman is like £11,000. You understand? And that is it. So I want to obviously wait and see how this deal will obviously come to pass, but Arsenal is hugely interested into this player. But there are two players of Bayern Munich they're interested in, that is Leroy Sen and a player called Leroy Sen and a player called Kingsley Coman. Now, if you're an Arsenal fan of the two, who would you obviously go in for? Because for Kingsley Coman, he can play as a right forward and he can play as a left forward. And the same applies to Leroy Sen. He can also play as a left forward and right forward. So, as it stands, all those players are really doing great. And I think they are almost in the same age bracket. I think they are 27, 28 years of age. Now, who of the two would you get in? Or you can obviously get the two of those players. For example, you get Leroy Sen on the free and pay Bayern for Kingsley Coman. You understand? So, would you bring in those two forwards at the club of Arsenal? All that and more into the comment section below. I leave it for you, because we've had rumors indicating that a player known as Leandro Trossard is set to leave the club of Arsenal, you know, because he's not willing to extend his contract. Arsenal is like, we're obviously going to be selling you, as I think he signed a 3-year contract when he's at Arsenal. So we wait for Kingsley Coman to Arsenal deal, as he is one of the concrete destinations for the player. But can they obviously do a double signing from the side of Bayern Munich? All that and more comes into what your thoughts are. But for Kingsley Coman this season, in the Bundesliga, 23 games, 4 goals and 4 assists. He's really performing badly. And though better than how he performed last season. Champions League, 10 games, 1 goal, 0 assists. Then the DFB Pokal Cup, 2 matches, 1 goal and 0 assists. That is it for the player known as Kingsley Coman. And he's going to be making 29 years of age on the 13th of June in 2025. That is it. Now, let's obviously get to the player known as Lionel Messi, one of those that is breaking records in the United States of America as he plays into what we call the Major League Soccer. That is the MLS. Now, they are telling us that Inter Miami are close to an agreement with Lionel Messi of a contract extension to keep him with the MLS club. The new deal signals his intentions to play at the 2026 World Cup. Now, Miami are close to an agreement with Lionel Messi over a contract extension to keep him with the MLS. So, Lionel Messi wants to obviously keep himself there, because I think he's really having fun in the US, and he doesn't even overwork himself. And you never know, he might keep himself playing football for very many years, because that side of the US, the intensity is not like it was into these European leagues. So I tell you, the guy is really out of this world, and he's really one of those that you have to look at and really understand that he never really stops to really call in for the best of the best performances, especially in the MLS, and I really love what he puts out as a player. And the World Cup of 2026, he has to play. He has to play. That's why he chose to come and play into the MLS. Like you see Ronaldo playing into the Saudi Pro League. He's obviously reserving himself for his last World Cup that is set to play next year in Mexico, Canada, and the United States of America. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rokani David is my name. Your thoughts on to Kingsley Coman to Arsenal. Would you obviously go ahead and obviously get that deal out of the way? All else, you would go in for Leroy's hand. All you bring 3 of those. That's what I'm really waiting to hear from you. Those 3 options. Which one would you go in for? And then your thoughts about Lionel Messi new contract. Remember, he really makes a lot of money for that team. They lifted their first trophy ever with Lionel Messi, and I think that was last season. And he's continuing to put in a shift that everyone really knows about into that MLS. So I'm calling in for your reactions into the comment section below. Rokani David is my name. We sign out. Continue to subscribe, and here we come to record or to the end of the first recording of the day, and more is yet to come. And Newcastle is schooling Manchester United. It's now 4 Newcastle, Manchester United 1 at the St. James's Park, and looks like they are even scoring more. It might obviously go ugly from 4 to 5 to 6, because Newcastle is like, we can really do more harm than good to you into this beautiful game of football. We out. Ciao, ciao.